welcome to KCH42. Today we're going to be playing Pokemon Emerald Blitz, a ROM hack with drafted Pokemon, randomized gym order, and no storyline. Typically when you play the game, you draft your team against other people, but today we're going to be using the weekly box, a pre-made team of 8 Pokemon that I select every week for the community to race each other. So we get into the run, and with this box I'm most interested in obviously Tadbulb, but also I'm curious about Sandile, because Sandile is a Pokemon that I think typically when I first started playing this game I liked, because you're in Intimidate Mon, you have Moxie as well if you want to pivot to hard carry, and you're fast, you have good typing, and I think Intimidate is just really OP. So I want to test that, and also I know a lot of people really believe in Execute. Since 8.0, it's one of the most champed Pokemon in the game, and I've never really been that big of a fan of it compared to other grass types. But I wanted to give it a whirl, see what other people are seeing in it. But we roll Juan Wallace 1, which, for having an Execute and a Weasel, are both really good. Weasel, obviously, you get access to Waterfall once you beat Juan Wallace, and Waterfall kind of makes Weasel, and later Floatzel especially, into a good Pokemon. So I was contemplating leading Sandile here instead of Eevee. I end up leading Eevee anyways. I don't think it really changes much, because I'm going to be switching out anyways. It kind of just gives me one turn of Eevee getting chipped before I have to switch in. Then with Poliwag, we fortunately hit the Hypnosis. It doesn't really matter too much. It just means that there's 1 or 2 less turns where the Dondozo can click Waterfall on Execute and flinch it, which is really the only thing that I'm playing against here. So fortunately, Dondozo does not Waterfall. It clicks Water Gun on Execute. I think I might have set up Reflect this run. I'm not positive. I'm just clicking Hypnosis on Poliwag because I don't really think I do any damage. My hope is that I can Hypnosis Leech Seed, and then it won't be able to, the Tatsugiri won't be able to Rapid Spin it, but unfortunately that can't happen. But at this point, this fight is pretty much over. There might be a little bit of a concern of Water Pulse Confusion knocking me out, but I have Execute with Mega Drain. I have 3 other Pokemon in the back, if you include this Pancham, that is full HP. So Juan Wallace, very easy. If you have a Leech Seed Pokemon, another reason why having access to Leech Seed is so good, because it basically means that the Pokemon at the Leech Seed slot will never die. So great, probably the best possible Gym 1 that you can get with this box. And now we just run straight to Dewford on 2, which is my preference. I hate going to Mauville or Lava Ridge on 2. Because it feels so much slower, and it allows you to forget about Guru way more. Like, if you go to Lava Ridge on 2, you kind of want to go to Mauville 3. Because presumably if you need to go Lava Ridge 2, you have a Daycare Mon, so you're just going to fly back to Mauville, then you go into Gym 3, and then you realize, oh, my Impidimp isn't evolved, because I completely forgot about Guru. So we see leveling everybody up. The Roly-Coly evolves into Carkol, which is nice. When it evolves, it gains access to Fire type, which is very useful, and means that it's actually useful into the Voltorb that Watson has. But here we get Spinda. I know I'm slower on Pancham, but I'm hoping, assuming that we don't get a crit here, which we don't, I'm hoping that the Spinda clicks Facade instead of another Teeter Dance, which fortunately it does. That's an AI change done recently where Teeter Dance is not always going to be clicked. So here I think I misplay a little bit, because I stay in. I want to greed another Karate Chop on the Vigoroth. I think probably I should have switched in Sandile first to get a Intimoff, but my idea is that if I get one Intimoff, I'm not going to be able to switch back into the Pancham without it getting 2-shot by Facade or something. But here we have Carkol. The Vigoroth is at -1 attack. Fortunately, Norman 2 does not have a special attacking move like some of the later Normans have, especially some of the old later Normans have, when Norman 3 had Uproar, which was a bit difficult. But here we're just slowly Gonna chip away at the Vigoroth. I use Smackdown over Flame Wheel because Flame Wheel takes so long for the move to come out. Either Flame Wheel or Flame Charge, I forget. It's Flame Charge. Which my hot take is that move should be reduced in time, similar to moves like Bullet Seed, because my god, that move takes so long to come out. But now Carkol, it's a normal type resist. We are able to get another Smackdown off, and then I'm just going to go Buizel here to take care of the Zigzagoon. So that's Norman down. And unfortunately, we don't really have a Pokemon that is too interested in having Facade. Seeing that we don't really have a normal type at all, and we don't have a Guts Pokemon, but that's okay. Another benefit of going due for 2 is that we have over 9k going into Slateport, so we are able to get the Ability Patch, Ability Capsule, whatever the hidden ability one is. I should know, I played this game 1,000 times. We're also going to Daycare our Poliwag for Encore. I don't even know if I use Encore at all this run, but I know that Encore is a strong move, so I try to go it when I can, just in case. I don't normally think about it, but it's a good move, and my idea is that if I get Flannery 3, which I do, of course, as soon as you put a water type into the Daycare, you will get Flannery. But I thought I would... my Poliwag's not really going to do much for Flan 3 anyways, because it's still going to be a Poliwag. It doesn't evolve into Poliworld until Gym 4, and I'd rather have all the moves that I want going into a potential Flannery 4 than I really care about Flannery 3. And especially with Encore going into Flan 3 with Poliwhirl, I think Poliwhirl is decently quick, or at least faster than the Torkoal, the Numel, or maybe it's Camerupt on 4 actually, and the Marowak. And then I can Encore them into Sunny Day, and then that makes the fight much easier. But as it is, we're honestly doing fine. We open Carkol. I'm just making sure that the Carkol has a Chesto Berry here in case the Slugma does go for Yawn and I don't one-shot, so I'm able to get that on. And then, fortunately, Flannery 3 is much easier than a lot of the other options. I'm clicking Ancient Power here with the hope that I can get Omni Boost. Of course, you never get an Omni Boost. That is reserved for the computer. I know that Nummel's going to be clicking, or I think Nummel's going to be clicking Magnitude because it's 4x effective, but I don't know how it scores Magnitude or how it views Magnitude damage. And I think that what I think it does is I think it does a make-believe roll of Magnitude. And I think there it rolled Mag 4, so it doesn't see Kill. And then I go Carkol again, and now it does see Kill with Magnitude because it just rolls higher. I'd have to check that, but I know that's how it works with Solrock Psywave, where if you go into the stats, you can see, okay, in debug menu in Nathan's Lair, you can see that it has, it says it's going to do 19 damage, and then it really does like 12. So it's just guessing. But we go into Buizel, we one-shot the Nummel with Waterfall. I'm just going to keep clicking it because I think this Torkoal... I think it has to click Sunny Day, but it clicks Overheat, which concerns me. It misses 2 Overheats, which is crazy. And now it goes Sunny Day. And I'm like, well, if I knew it was just going to click and miss Overheat twice, and I don't even think the Overheat would have killed. I could have just clicked Waterfall and KO'd this Torkoal pretty easily. But realistically, it doesn't change anything. This fight is really not a concern unless you don't have a Fire Resist, or you get like nuclear crit at the time that you really can't afford it, but we're doing fine. Water Sport's out, but at this point the Torkoal is -4. Now it's -6, it's barely doing any damage. Sun is down, I random click Smackdown for fun. Just do a bit more damage. Vulpix comes in, and that is going to be Flannery 3 down, even though we daycared one of our water types, so... Flannery 3 is really the Flannery that you want to see. Really, any of the early Flannerys are what you want to see. Late Flannery with the Marowak can be really hard. I do like getting Thief TM early now, because especially if you have a Pokemon that can use it well into Flannery and TNL. because you can give a Pokemon Thief, and you can thief the Thick Club off the Marowak, which makes it vastly less threatening. And you can also use it into Tate and Liza. Obviously, Psychic types are weak to Dark. And now we get a lot of our Evos in. We get Poliwhirl, we're going to get Krokorok, we're going to get Floatzel as well, which is very big when we have Randance Poliwhirl and early Juan Wallace, so we're able to get the Waterfall. And I know that we just saw it, but because I'm talking so much, I forget what gym we get here. This isn't Watson. I think Watson I get gym 5. Spoiler alert. But we get everybody up. We're going to ability patch the Execute. It is a Brawly 4, which is pretty good with this box because we have Golbat, we have Execute. I think that honestly this fight should probably be a bit easier than I make it, as we'll see. I go ahead and teach Golbat Thief, even though it doesn't get usable into Tate and Liza, which is a bit unfortunate for the Thief TM, but my idea is that I can switch into the Hariyama, Thief the Citrus Berry off, and then I have to worry about it less. We open the Machoke with our Floatzel. I think this is probably the only Pokemon that my Floatzel is going to fight because I can't switch Floatzel into anything, I don't think, so we're able to take out the Machoke. Hariyama comes in just as we expected, and I'm contemplating going Golbat, but I don't want to switch Golbat into a Force Palm, not because it does damage, but because I'm kind of concerned about the paralysis. Because if Golbat gets paralyzed and then Smelling Salted, then it's completely chopped. And my thought is if I go in Execute first, I get parried, it's going to Smelling Salts after, then I can put Golbat in. And then we can start thieving the Citrus Berry and hitting it with wing attacks, but instead I'm just going to keep Execute in. We harvest our Oran Berry, which the hidden ability already starting to pay off. And now we're just going to Leech Seed through it. We harvest another Oran Berry, so double harvest value already is very nice. I low-key forget that this thing has Fury Cutter. Fortunately, our Reflect is still up. We harvest another Oran Berry. And now I'm contemplating here switching out, but I kind of want to stay in to get another harvest, but I forget that Reflect's about to go down, so I get a Leech Seed off. That's pointless. I really should have just put a Golbat in. We're able to one-shot the Farfetch'd after 2 Leech Seed. And I'm not worried about the Meditite at all. So, as I mentioned a bit earlier, I think that this fight should have been much more linear than I made it. I think I probably could have just led Golbat for the whole thing and I would have been fine, because what's the Machoke going to do? It's going to Bullet Punch me. So I look here, I think this is the run where I might have spammed A and I didn't see any of the Pokemon, but on my second go through, I don't really get any Mon that I really want. I end up going for Sylveon, I think, just because my other options were Flareon and Glaceon, neither of which I think I really needed for this box. In retrospect, Glaceon probably could have been useful for, if it even was Glaceon. I could be insane. I could be thinking of my EGP race from the other day, but we get everybody evolved. Tadbulb is now going to be usable as Bellibolt. I have to make sure that I click the Leaf Stone on Execute and not Eevee. I do not want Leafeon here. We get the Politoed. Fortunately, my original recording, I forgot that Politoed was King's Rock and not Waterstone, so I had a Poliwrath in a box that already has a fighting type and has a Swift Swim sweeper. So, because we get Sylveon, unfortunately, I have to go to the move tutor to get D-Kiss. This is part of the reason why I don't like playing with Sylveon, aside from the fact that it's just very linear and boring. That you just call mine D-Kiss through like every fight. But I still get it because I don't want to wipe. I've already recorded an hour and 20 minutes of another run that failed to Glacia. I don't want to do another hour and a half run after this one, so we roll Watson 5, as I remembered. We get Giga Drain for our Executor, we get T-Bolt for our Belly Bolt, which doesn't really matter too much, but I'm still going to give it to it. In retrospect, there's a world where I don't really need T-Bolt TM and I can just keep Discharge and save the 5k, but I prefer having T-Bolt. It does a bit more damage. Belly Bolt with its Electromorphosis ability does a ton of damage, and I think the 10 bonus damage matters a lot, and you kind of don't want to paralyze opponents with Belly Bolt because you want to be slower than them to get Electromorphosis procs. So into Graveler, we open Sleep Powder. I like doing this because I really don't like playing versus rocks in this fight, and if you're able to hit the Sleep Powder, then rocks don't get set up, assuming it doesn't turn 1 Wake Up. And if you don't, you're going to take like 20 damage on your grass type. So, very nice. We're able to switch Pangoro into Supersonic, but this is exactly what I expected to happen. Fortunately, it hits the Supersonic, which it always does. So now we're able to switch in Krokorok without Supersonic being clickable, and we one-shot it with Dig, which is easy. We know this is going to be Electrode, so we're worried about a Grass-type move. We go Carkol. It clicks Stun Spore, which was kind of surprising to me, and I didn't Cherry Berry my Carkol, which is a bit of a lack of foresight from me. But fortunately, I think we're not going to get too punished by it. I know it's going to click Shockwave here, so I'm contemplating switching into my ground type. I don't want to yet, but I will here. Krokorok comes in, Intim. It makes the self-destruct do less damage, and I completely forgot that the Pokemon can just click. If it has Explode or self-destruct, it has a 50% chance of clicking it on turn 5 or beyond. So we fortunately Intim the self-destruct, then Manectric crits us. Fortunately does not get the burn, or we would have died. Now we go into Executor to get a Leech Seed off. I think I live whatever the next move is, and it's got hit by 1 Mud Slap, so we should be fine. And now, fortunately, risky fight. I think if I switch in pretty much anybody aside of Krokorok, I might get one-shot by the self-destruct. I think the Intim actually kind of saved me there. But that's a good thing to remember, is that you can get one-shot by self-destruct. I think self-destruct is another one of those moves similar to Megahorn that I kind of just need to memorize what all Pokemon have it, because it can just devastate you. So we get another hidden ability. This time it's going to be for Politoed Drizzle. And we pick up all the citrus berries. We're going to go to Gym 4 here. And I'm thinking I probably want, I want to go into that random Fortree building first, but I want Winona. We get Winona, fortunately. And now we are going to figure out, okay, what Pokemon all do we want to have in here? We're not going to have our fighting type, obviously. I could put Floatzel in because we are going to have Drizzle on Politoed, but I think I prefer to have the other Pokemon. I don't need 2 water types, and my Floatzel, even in rain, I don't think is going to sweep this fight. So I'm contemplating Leech Life here. I know that Leech Life is good. 80 base damage, draining move that is really good into the E4 is nice, but I kind of prefer the moves that I have on Crobat right now at this point. We get Colossal Evo. We get Politoed to have Drizzle. We make sure everybody has berries again. And I don't need, shockingly, I don't need a Rain Dance anymore on my Drizzlemon. So we're going to lead, so my idea here, we're going to lead Colossal to take out the Tropius with our Fire-type move. We're going to lead Stealth Rock, because I know this Tropius can't really hurt me. It only has, I think, Aerial Ace and Solar Beam, neither of which do that much damage to me. And this is probably going to be the only Pokemon that I'm fighting with Colossal. And my idea is that I will kill it with Sun Boosted Incinerate. It's going to bring out Altaria. Altaria is going to click EQ. It's going to take Chip from Pointed Stones. And in comes Crobat on EQ, so we're kind of just fine. And if I thought about it a little bit more, I could have taken the citrus off this guy, and I could have thiefed it, but I think for all intents and purposes, it's fine. We get heal for the Altaria. We're going to get 1 more Cross Poison off before you switch. I think this is a roll, but I'm not going to risk it. here I'm contemplating who I want to put in. I don't want to go Politoed at this point because I really don't want to give Pelipper potential rain boosted surfs yet. In comes Sylveon, clicks Drain and Kiss once, gets a KO. And now in comes our goat, Bellibolt, and we do get a Sand Attack spam, which is very unfortunate. But even without the Electromorphosis, it just one-shots. I would want to stay in, but I know it's going to click Esper Wing, or I think it's going to click Esper Wing. It goes Tailwind, which is fine because we want to get outsped on Bellibolt. Anyways, we're going to tank in Air Slash and an Esper Wing, and we will just be able to two-shot the last two Winota Pokemon with Bellibolt, T-Bolt. Unfortunately, she knows that we are playing a race, so she just clicks Protect to stall a little bit of time from us, unfortunately. But that's Gym 6 down. I don't believe we have any Megas with this box, but I still want to go back to Slateport just to pick up another Ability Capsule and a couple of Mints, because I know I really have to get Nature's off a couple of my Pokemon, maybe just one with this box. Then I do remember this time Rare KCH42 remembering to get Citrus Berries after Gym 6, and we roll Roxanne, which Roxanne is very good to see when you have double water and a Grass-type Pokemon, and a Fighting-type Pokemon, and a Ground-type Pokemon that just evos for this gym. So this fight should be pretty simple, all things considered. So I went ahead and took the creative liberty of skipping a solid 3 minutes in-game time of me leveling everybody up, making sure everybody has TMs and everything, and we can get into Roxanne 7. So, Politoed with the Drizzle open. That's going to bait out Relicanth, to which I think I should be fine tanking a Head Smash. It misses the first one, fortunately, so I don't have to risk 2 Head Smash crits with Exeggutor. I think that after Exeggutor, it should be baiting out Arcanine, but I think because of the Drizzle, it doesn't actually put out Arcanine because it doesn't see kill with Flamethrower. So instead it goes Cleavor, maybe because it sees Bug as 4x effective. Maybe it would go Cleavor into Exeggutor anyways. But we go Politoed in, we're completely fine into Double Rock Tomb. Into Probopass, I'm pretty sure it's going to be clicking Discharge or potentially, or Zap Cannon, or potentially Rock Tomb if it's slower. My idea here is I'm going to open a Crunch because the Probopass has Sturdy, and then we can dig to KO it. This Arcanine is going to get Intimidate off, and my thought is that here I'm going to click Torment so that it can't Rock Tomb twice, because that's a move I think it's going to use because it sees I outspeed it. It shouldn't kill with the Play Rough. But unfortunately, I switch in Floatzel and a Play Rough, and I think a Rock Tomb are pretty much, it's a roll to KO. My Floatzel here, and I really don't want Floatzel to wipe out here for no reason, but considering the fact that I don't have the Rock Tomb hitting me, instead it's a Play Rough, I still outspeed. And we're able to take out Roxanne without too much difficulty. We kind of risked a crit, I think, maybe on the Relicanth. And the Floatzel maybe doesn't one-shot with Waterfall. I'm pretty sure it does. But now we get Titanize at 8. And this is kind of the whole reason why I wanted to keep Floatzel alive for this fight, is so that we could try the Swift Swim, Waterfall Floatzel with the Drizzlemon. And then the rest of my box is honestly very good into this team as well. So we're going to be leading Politoed. We're getting Ice Beam so that we can Ice Beam the Xatu. And then Snarl for the Crocodile just in case. I don't really think I'm going to use it, but you never know. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the battle. Now, it gets a little bit unfortunate here. So, obviously, with Rain Boosted Waterfall, we one-shot the Claydol. And with Politoed Ice Beam, we almost one-shot the Xatu. And I'm thinking that because the Xatu sees that it outspeeds Politoed, that it's going to go for kill on Floatzel, and I need to kill the Xatu before it kills me. In retrospect, I should know that Xatu sees kill on Floatzel, but it isn't faster than Floatzel. So, what's it called? The double battle will always heal. And if that's the case, I can Waterfall the Lunatone. Lunatone gets one hit KO'd. The Xatu gets healed, and we're able to take out the next couple Pokemon with Politoed and Floatzel. Now, my Executor gets absurdly low here, partially because of a crit foul play, but also because I did not really take into consideration just how much damage Politoed Rain Boosted Surf would do to my own Pokemon with the Resist. Belly Bolt switch in to tank a little bit. Surf does so much damage in the rain from Politoed. And even though we do end up losing Floatzel, it's fine, because I'm not really going to be taking Politoed and Floatzel into the E4. I don't think. I think that the rest of this box is good enough to not really need double water, and I think Politoed on its own with Drizzle is good enough, especially because it's a Drizzlemon with Ice Beam, so I think this is going to be the box that we're going to go to. Now it's just a matter of leveling everybody up, and then we'll hit the E4. We end up rolling Spencer over Sydney, which I think with this box, especially for Crobat, is very good. And my idea here is that I Cross Poison Shiftry, it shouldn't kill, I get Swaggered, and then I'm able to one-shot, or I don't get Swaggered, and I'm able to kill afterwards. Unfortunately, I see the letter C as the first thing for Crobat, and I just assume it's Cross Poison. I accidentally confused Ray the Shiftry. It could have been a little bit chopped, but fortunately it's fine. And now Crobat's just going to be able to wipe everything with Cross Poison. The one concern here would have been that Ludicolo if my Cross Poison wouldn't kill, but we get the crit with Cross Poison anyways. In retrospect, I should have taught my Crobat Aerial Ace going into this fight, because with the Swagger bonus, I do a lot more damage with Aerial Ace than with the special move Air Cutter or Air Slash. I forget which one my Crobat has. But we get Luceve, which when you have a ground sweeper is very nice. We know that this EQ is going to one-shot Viper. Crobat will always come out because it's immune to ground. And then I can go to Belly Bolt, who hard walls effectively any Mon that doesn't one-shot it. This Thunderbolt does 300% of Crobat's HP or something ridiculous. Then in comes Overquill, and I'm contemplating what I want to do with this. It hits me with a Crunch, which, considering it doesn't get Defense Trap, I'm going to be fine versus the next one, and Thunderbolt just one-shots it. Anyways, we're going to get hit by a Sludge Bomb from Swalot. Again, we're fine. Again, we one-shot a crit that I'm not even sure if it's necessary. I stay in with Belly Bolt because I think Dustox does less damage than Swalot, and the Swalot Sludge Bomb would have been a roll. But we activate Sleep Clause, in comes our Crobat, and because we can't get put to sleep with our Crobat anymore, this Dustox is just going to be a piece of cake. And that's two very simple Elite Four members down with a pretty good team for all of them. I end up rolling Tucker, who typically, ever since the Gardevoir buff to give it Shadow Ball, is a lot more difficult of a fight for me. Especially, I mean, look at this box. We have Crocodile, we have Pangoro, both of whom are worthless in this fight. And there's not really a solid Tucker sweeper that we have. We don't have a Salandit or anything. But we still open with Crobat. We crit the Wigglytuff, which, again, I don't know how necessary that is. Mawile comes in, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be clicking either Crunch or Iron Head. It's not going to click Play Rough, I don't think. It goes Iron Head. We're able to one-shot it with Crocodile EQ. Now, after this, it's going to go Togekiss, so now I can switch into, presumably, my Crobat. Interestingly, I probably, in retrospect, would have gone to Belly Bolt, but we go Crobat, and we one-shot with crit plus poison, which is hilarious. Now, we know that Gardevoir is going to be clicking Psychic, so we can go into our Dark type. We should outspeed the Gardevoir with Crocodile, so we're able to get a Snarl off into the Draining Kiss. Obviously, I'm not going to be getting any real chip down because Gardevoir will just regen all of it. But I think I should be able to click another Snarl, just make sure that this Gardevoir is much less threatening than it would otherwise be. Our Crocodile takes a bit more damage, but we're not going to be using it for the Rapidash in the back, so I'm fine with that. We go Belly Bolt for the last Mon. Gardevoir does click Calm Mind, which is a bit unfortunate, but we crit, and even without Electromorphosis, we still just one-shot. And the Belly Bolt clicks 2 Thunderbolts here to KO the Rapidash, and honestly, in retrospect, I think this Pokemon could have soloed a lot more of the Elite Four phase than I expected. I think there's honestly a world where I bait out Draining Kiss from the Gardevoir, put Belly Bolt in, and it 2 shots with double Electromorphosis Thunderbolt. We get Drake on Elite Four member 4, which is probably isn't great because we have a Politoed and an Exeggutor for Brandon, but it's fine. This is why we have Ice Beam on our Politoed. So I'm trying to think what move this Kingdra is going to use, and I'm thinking it's going to click Dragon Pulse because it'll do the most damage. Instead it clicks Hurricane, so I'm not going to be able to Encore into Dragon Pulse, unfortunately. I don't really want to Encore it into Hurricane because I don't want the confusion chance, but we go Belly Bolt, we get crit but not confused, fortunately. We are not able to one-shot, but after this full restore and one more, the Dragon Pulse will let us one-shot. And in retrospect, the Encore and Hurricane was fine. It is kind of unfortunate that it didn't miss any of them, but all in all, it's fine. I'm 90% sure that this Flygon's going to be clicking EQ, so I'm thinking I want to put Crobat in, but Crobat doesn't really have any good moves into the Flygon, but it at least means that it won't be clicking Stab Earthquake into whatever Mon I switch in. And I'm thinking what Pokemon I want to switch in. We end up going with Crobat into the EQ, like we talked about. And now I'm thinking it's probably going to be clicking not Earthquake. It's going to be clicking Dragon Claw here. Who do I want to switch into that? I'm thinking I put Crocodile in because Intim greatly reduces the strength, but it goes Boom Burst instead, which is kind of fine. We're able to get an Intim and a Snarl off. Fortunately, the Boom Burst on Flygon is not really close to as threatening as Boom Burst on Norman 8 X-Plowed. I think that's one of the hardest fights in the game, but fortunately, don't have to worry about it too much. We do get crit by Boom Burst on switch in, which really does suck, because with that, we kind of have to risk another crit, I think. But Polito's able to handle that okay. Salamence comes out, and now I think we're going to get a little sketchy here. So I think it's that Salamence is going to click any move but Flamethrower. So I can put Exeggutor in. There's Rain Up anyways, so it doesn't do that much damage. And now I'm just thinking I'm going to Leech Seed. I'm probably going to Sleep Powder, and then we're just going to try to Drain Tank this Salamence all the way home. So Rain's down, which is a bit unfortunate, because if I get early Wake Up on the Salamence, then my Exeggutor can just get one shot. We crit it to super low HP, and we do get turn 2 Wake Up. I didn't play around the turn 2 Wake Up, even though Salamence is super low, because my thought is that Drake should probably heal here because his Mon is no HP and asleep. And you'd think that then he would see, okay, I should full restore my Pokemon that is asleep, but it doesn't go for that. I end up losing my Exeggutor, which is a bit unfortunate going into the Wally fight, because an Exeggutor would be helpful as a switch in into every single one of Gallade moves. It would be good into the Azumarill as well. It's a decent wall into the Magnezone where you can at least Leech Seed if Magnezone was one of the last Pokemon out. But instead, lose Exeggutor, which will make Wally more difficult. It's not impossible. And then we finally see Pangoro out. I think that this might be the first time I've used this Pokemon the whole run outside of Norman when it was still a Pancham. But all in all, it's okay that we lose Exeggutor. I'm going to teach Aerial Ace over Thief or Air Slash. End up teaching it over Thief for Crobat because I want to just be able to two-shot the Roserade. so that the Roserade isn't able to set up toxic spikes. Make sure that everybody has berry, and then into Wally we go. So this Roserade, I never really have a problem with it, but that's because I normally draft a Pokemon that can 1 to 2 shot it, preferably one shot. We get the Aerial Ace crit, which is nice. I'm surprised that Wally went Garchomp here over Gallade, because I expected it to see Gallade super effective Psycho Cut, but it goes Garchomp. I put Politoed in, just looking to Ice Beam. It is a bit unfortunate that I put Politoed in right before Garchomp clicks Sandstorm, but realistically, I don't think it matters too much. Now, I'm thinking here it's that Gallade's going to click Close Combat, so in comes Crobat. Instead, it's Leaf Blade, which I guess maybe I should have expected that, but it doesn't really matter. I know that after this, Gallade's going to be clicking Psycho Cut, so in goes Pangoro. Either Pangoro or Crocodile would be fine. I kind of just went Pangoro because it's the first thing that I saw that was Dark type. We get we get one close combat drop. We're going to get the second close combat drop here. And my thought is that after these close combat drops, that Aerial Ace will one-shot. Fortunately, I'm correct. I don't know if I needed the second one, but I just wanted to get it just in case. And I click Aerial Ace here just to break the Sturdy for Crocodile to come in, one-shot the Magnezone. And as long as you have a Pokemon that you're comfortable sacking into the Magnezone, you never have to worry about it, assuming you have an EQmon. Now it's just a matter of there are 2 Pokemon left. There is Azumarill and Talonflame. And Crocodile is not going to be too useful into Talonflame because it's a ground type. It wouldn't be bad, but I don't really need it. And we're just going to go ahead and put Bellybolt in. We'll KO this Azumarill after a flinch, unfortunately, which is a little bit silly, but I'm not too worried about the rest of this fight at this point. Only Pokemon left is Talonflame, and after it hits me with one non-crit Blaze Kick, Thunderbolt is just going to be enough to clean it up. So losing Executor, while it looks kind of rough on the surface, honestly didn't matter too much for this fight. I think that I play this fight enough that I'm comfortable doing it with 5, maybe even 4 Mons in some circumstances, but all in all, good team, a good Wally team, good Gym Face team, good E4 as well. The tier list for this week really aligns with what I expected a lot of this box to show me. Albeit the one real surprise here, or I guess there are 2 main surprises here. We'll start with Executor. So this Pokemon, I historically am not the biggest fan of. I think that there are grass types that are better than it. Obviously, I'm a Bulbasaur person personally, but I do think that this Pokemon early game is very nice. You have access to early Reflect, Mega Drain, which is a better move than Vine Whip or Razor Leaf, in my opinion, for the most part. Um, you also have Confusion. You are also a Brawly Resist, which is one of the main benefits I see for Bulbasaur early game. But I think also just access to Harvest early game, mid game, and late game is so very strong. And I think, especially considering, for me at least, the meta in this game has evolved into dropping your initial access to Slateport and the daycare until after you beat Gym 2. So doing a do for 2 and then going to Slateport, I think benefits this Pokemon a lot in terms of race speed because you can go into Slateport for the first time with 9K. With Guru as well, if you have any Guru Mons, and you can get Harvest without sacrificing any tempo on map, which I think is actually pretty big, at least for me, because when I go to Lava Ridge 2, the only way I'm going back to Slateport is if I have a move that I need to get, or if I have a Guru Pokemon, or if I need a rental desperately for Gym 3. Those are the only real circumstances where I ever do it. But using this box where you can afford to do a do for 2, I kind of see the strength of early Harvest, where you have Harvest into Watson 3. And now suddenly you give it a Cherry Berry and it can never die, and they keep paralyzing it, and you keep harvesting Cherry Berry, and you keep healing paralysis. And I think it's very funny. And on top of that, it gives you so much more sustain into, say, Brawly 3, Brawly 4, where you can just keep harvesting your orange berries. And then late game, especially by Gym 6 and beyond, when you can harvest citrus berries, it's so strong. And I think because of that, it synergizes really well with Sleep Powder, which is also a very good move, in my opinion, even though 25% chance to miss. Typically, if you click Sleep Powder twice, you'll get one sleep. And I think most of the circumstances where you're going to click Sleep Powder, you should be fine to miss one. I know there's some tech where I Sleep Powder in Viola 1 with my Ivysaur, which in that case you can only get away with one, but in most cases you're able to get away with two. And because of that, I think Exeggutor and Execute are very good Pokemon. I still have never tried the Dragon type version. I need to do that at some point, but I think even just the Psychic, I think the Kanto version is the Psychic one, is just very, very good. Very good Pokemon, very stable. Another good grass type in a sea of good grass types. But I think that this kind of separated itself to me from some of the other typically S tier grass types in like Breloom, Roserade, any Pokemon like that. I think that to me, Exeggutor is above those, and probably solidly in the 2 or 3 slot. I'd have to think about it a little more. Then moving down, so this tier in the top two, I'm kind of torn. So personally, I really like Tadbulb. Once you evolve your demon, I think what's holding it back is the early game. It's very useless, and I didn't want to draw too many conclusions from an E4 where I crit a lot with Thunderbolt, but I still think it's very good Pokemon. I think that especially if you can get away with it not being a Pokemon really for the first 4 gyms, I think you're golden. You're honestly you're not even bad first 4 gyms. I don't think it's a Ralt situation, but you're definitely not good early game. And I think for Crocodile, for Sandile, you while your stats aren't great early, you still have access to Intimidate, which is in early game the strongest ability in the game. I think bar none really. And being able to pivot into a Moxie carry, having ground type for E4, having dark type for gyms and E4, I think is very nice. And you're a great pivot Pokemon because you're a dark type and a ground type that has Intimidate. You have double immunity and in Intimidate. It's a very good Pokemon. And I think if I were a Steven player, I would probably put it in A. But for me, I think it's a solid, or I'd put it in S. For me, I think it's a solid A. And I think it being above Tadbulb, to me at least, shows how positively I view this Pokemon because I think Tadbulb's great. Then Poliwag. So Poliwag I could kind of see moving down here, but I actually really like Drizzlemons. I think this is also a good Ice Beam user. Your speed isn't great, which kind of limits its value, I think, especially into Drake, where you really want a fast Ice Beam user if you can get away with it. But you're fast enough to outspeed the Exeggutor, so that's the main kind of barrier of entry for a good water type with Ice Beam. But I think Drizzle has a lot of utility. And I think just in general, it's a pretty good mod. You have access to Encore as well, which I didn't use that well in my run, but it's a good move. I think it's a very good Pokemon as well. So my other biggest riser, along with Exeggutor, is Zubat. So I low key thought Zubat was terrible. In first 2 gyms, I do think you are pretty bad, but your 4x fighting resist, which is always useful, and by the time you're Golbat, you're effectively a fully evolved Pokemon, and then Crobat just makes it so that you outspeed everything in the game effectively. Aside from the Ninjask, I think is the only thing you don't outspeed. And Lucy's Crobat, if it has better IVs than you, which it probably will. But his Pokemon very good in my opinion. I think Confuse Ray honestly pretty good move. Cross Poison good move. Your level up moveset isn't great, like it's nothing really to write home about. You're not getting Earthquake or you don't have access to Psychic or Giga Drain or something like that. But for a Poison Flying type, it's good. You have Aerial Ace, you have Cross Poison, you get Leech Life as well, which would have been good into Sydney if I got Sydney and thought about Leech Life. But I think this is a solid Pokemon, and I think it's probably underrated right now. I think honestly, I could see it going up more than I could see it going down, or I could see it going up more than I could see it even going behind Roly-Coly. So I think Zubat's a good Pokemon. I'll probably look to draft this in the future, but I kind of have to tell where I value it. If I value it at 2K plus, I'm not positive just because I don't think its typing, poison or flying, are really that important in the grand scheme of Blitz, but still a good Pokemon. I like using it. Roly Poly is weird to me because Flame Body, um, you getting access to Flame Body going into Gym 2 is really weird to me. It ruined one of my runs where I didn't realize Heat Proof changed it into Flame Body. Roly Poly also ruined another one of my runs because I thought it was Rock Fire type at Gym 1 where it's only Rock type. But outside of that, it's an interesting mod to use. You're good into Flannery, you're good into most of Winona, and I don't think you scale too terribly, but I am not the biggest fan of Flame Body personally, because like for your rock type, you want it to be usable into Norman, and you don't really want to have to get Steam Engine instead of Flame Body for 3K just for a Norman fight. So it's not bad, but I'm not a fan. Weasel, I think Weasel is bad. I think that people view it properly. I think that with this box having a Drizzlemon, I could see it moving up. But it feels so reliant on the damage boost that Drizzle gives you to get one-shots off. I think that with Waterfall, it's a good mon, but being reliant on a Rain Dance setup and on, what's it called? And on getting early Juan Wallace, I think that that limits its utility to me a lot. And you have Water Sport, your water type. It has its uses, which is why it's not down here, but I don't think it's great. And then last and unfortunately least, we have Pancham. So I think this, my view of this Pokemon, I know is colored by my kind of general disdain for fighting types personally in this game, but it has its uses. Its level up moveset isn't great. Its typing isn't great. It's just Scrafty without access to Intimidate or Moxie or a Megastone, so just Scrafty but worse. And you're not even Dark type until you Evo, so I don't think it's bad. I think that especially into Norman, it's a good Pokemon, especially once you get the Dark type, so you're able to also counter the Zoroark. In that case, I think it's good. And I think it has a niche, which again, similar to Weasel, is why it's not down here. But not a great Pokemon, and I don't think in the future that I will really be drafting it too much. But all in all, I think good box. And I think that really this box opened my eyes up to Execute and Tadpole as real Pokemon that I want to use going forward. But that's it for week 15. Thanks.